Wait, before you go no contact, before you hit block, ghost her, or vanish like every YouTube video tells you to, listen to this carefully. There's something that works far better. Something that shakes her emotionally on a level she didn't expect. Something that doesn't just make her miss you, it makes her question everything about herself, her decision, and the way she treated you. It's not silence, it's emotional detachment. You see, most men think that no contact is the ultimate revenge, that if they disappear long enough, she'll come crawling back. But here's the truth, some women expect that. They're emotionally prepared for the silence. They're counting on you to be too weak to stay away. They're sitting back, secretly hoping you'll either beg or vanish. Either way, they're still in control. But when you don't just stop talking to her, but you stop feeling for her, that's when the real shift happens. Because nothing makes a woman more unsettled than realizing she no longer affects you. You're not bitter, you're not angry, and you're not secretly checking her stories like a lovesick teenager. You're just gone. Not physically, not in some dramatic I'm blocking her way, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You're not reacting, you're not validating, you've unplugged the emotional cord that once gave her power. And that's what hits her harder than any silence ever could, because while no contact leaves a void, emotional detachment replaces it with indifference, and that's scarier. That's powerful. When a woman senses that she no longer lives rent-free in your head, her ego takes a hit, a big one. She'll wonder why, she'll wonder how, she'll even test you just to see if she can still trigger a response. And when you remain grounded, calm, unmoved, that's when the questions start to eat at her. Women are intuitive. They can feel when the energy has shifted, and once she realizes she's not the center of your emotional world anymore, it forces her into reflection. Did she misjudge your value? Did she overplay her game? Has she lost a man who is actually hard to find? These are the questions she won't admit out loud, but they'll be screaming inside her mind every time she thinks about you. This isn't about pretending. It's about actually detaching, doing the work to regain your emotional center, realigning your focus, and walking like a man who no longer needs her validation. Because when you reach that point, not just act like it, but are it, your energy changes. She feels it, and that silent transformation will speak louder than any message, any silence, any blocked contact ever could. The moment she realizes your heart no longer flinches at her name is the moment you've already won. Let me stop you right here. If you think disappearing and going off the radar is what's going to make her realize your worth, you're playing checkers in a game of chess. Silence alone won't make her regret losing you. What really shakes her core is when you start upgrading in silence, and then let her see it. Because women don't just respond to absence, they respond to evidence. Tangible proof that the man she once knew is evolving without her, and more importantly, he's not looking back. It's not about showing off. It's about growth so undeniable it speaks for itself. While she's out there thinking you're sulking, stalking her stories, and waiting on her return, you're in the gym tightening your body, reading, leveling up your finances, surrounding yourself with better people, and healing your emotional triggers. Quietly, consistently, no announcement, no flex, just transformation happening behind the scenes. And then one day, without even trying, you show up. Not in her messages, not in her DMs, but on her feed. In a tagged photo, at an event, looking better, moving sharper, smiling like a man who's not only fine, but thriving. That right there, that's what triggers her. Because now it's not just the idea of you that she's missing, it's a version of you she's never even had. This is where the tables begin to turn. When a woman sees that she was merely a chapter in your story, not the whole book, it challenges her ego, and the version of you she remembers can't be compared to the man you've become. That contrast, that evolution, it makes her feel left behind. And she'll never admit it, but she starts watching, noticing, wondering, who is he becoming, and why wasn't I enough to keep him? See, this is what most men don't realize. Silence is passive. Growth is active. And when growth becomes visible, when it's undeniable, it doesn't just make her second guess leaving. It makes her question her entire judgment of you. Because now you're not seeking her validation, you're embodying self-worth. You don't need her attention. You attract it effortlessly. You don't chase anymore because what you're becoming is worth being pursued. And the most beautiful part, you're not doing it for her. You're doing it for you. But the effect it has on her? Devastating. Because she thought she'd see you fall apart. She never expected to watch you rise. Not like this. Not without her. The man who upgrades in silence, then lets his presence speak, is the man she never forgets. Hold on. Before you disappear completely and try to become a ghost in her world, ask yourself this. What if being seen, just a little, actually hits her harder than being gone? What if your presence, carefully timed, subtly delivered, creates more tension than silence ever could? Because women don't just notice when you vanish. They obsess when you stay just out of reach. Present but emotionally unavailable, visible but untouchable. Most guys think the strongest move is to cut her off cold. But the smarter move? Controlled presence, strategic energy. It's about showing up in ways that make her feel you, not hear from you. Because when you vanish, she might wonder where you went. But when you're still around, leveling up, smiling, vibing, and not paying her any attention, that's what gets under her skin. That's what drives her crazy. It could be something as simple as liking a post she never thought you'd see, or being in a group photo with people she doesn't know, looking different, confident, collected, and happy without her. That tiny ping of your activity just when she thought she was forgetting you can send her spiraling, because now she's seeing a version of you she doesn't have access to anymore. She's reminded you exist, but not for her. That feeling, that's far more uncomfortable than silence. Silence can be ignored, but emotional presence paired with distance, that creates friction. It pulls her into a loop of curiosity. What's he doing? Who is he with? Why hasn't he reached out? Is he over me? Has he moved on? These questions won't leave her mind easily, especially if you were someone she thought she had emotional control over. Because the truth is, women are deeply perceptive. They can sense when you're doing something just for show and when you've genuinely elevated. If she sees you thriving, but you're not chasing, not posting thirst traps, not flexing, just existing in a powerful way, it shakes her foundation. You're not the same man she thought would sit around waiting. You're not reacting like she expected. And the unpredictability of your moves, that's what stings. So instead of vanishing, refine your presence, make it valuable, use it wisely. Let her feel the impact of your energy without ever needing to send a word. Your growth, your calm, your new direction, that becomes the message. She doesn't get the privilege of knowing what's on your mind anymore. She only gets to witness what she no longer has access to. And that awareness, her seeing you but no longer being able to reach you, is far more powerful than your silence will ever be. Let me tell you something that'll stop her heart cold. Not your absence, not even your success, but this. When she can no longer read you, when she doesn't know where she stands with you anymore, that's when the panic sets in. And the truth is, emotional ambiguity hits way harder than silence ever could, because silence gives her something to hold on to. But when your energy is unreadable, when your actions don't match her expectations, that uncertainty drives her wild inside. Most men try to either go all in or pull all the way out. They make it obvious they're either begging for attention or ghosting out of spite. But there's something far more powerful in the middle. It's when you stop being predictable, when you shift your energy just enough that she can't quite place who you are to her anymore. One minute you're polite, even a little warm. The next, you're distant, unavailable, unbothered. Not rude, just emotionally detached and perfectly composed. That contrast creates internal chaos for her because women are emotional readers. They pick up on tone, eye contact, body language, responses. They're wired to analyze those subtle signals. And when those signals become mixed, vague, or inconsistent in a calculated way, it throws them off completely. She'll start to overthink, replay interactions, wonder if she imagined your warmth, ask herself if you've moved on, if you're seeing someone, or if she even matters anymore. And that's the point, because she used to be sure. She knew where she stood with you. She knew how much you cared. She had the upper hand emotionally. But now, You've disrupted that narrative. You've taken her out of the driver's seat. And without that clarity, she begins to chase something she once took for granted: your certainty. That's when her walls start to crack. She'll start sending little feelers, subtle messages, likes, accidental run-ins, just to test where you stand. But you don't flinch. You don't respond the way she hopes. You're not cold, but you're not invested either. You're emotionally neutral. And that's what gets under her skin. Because when a man becomes emotionally unreadable, not because he's playing games, but because he's truly centered within himself, he becomes magnetic, mysterious, powerful, and most importantly, unpredictable. She no longer gets to define the dynamic. You've taken back control of the frame, and now she's trying to decode a puzzle she never imagined would be hard to solve. So don't give her clarity, give her space to wonder. Because when a woman starts asking herself questions about you, that's when she starts coming back, not for answers, but for connection. And that's when the shift truly begins. Let me ask you something that most men never consider, but every woman secretly fears. What if you replaced her? And didn't even skip a beat? What if the man she expected to grieve her absence just kept moving? Surrounded by beauty, by warmth, by options, that fear of being effortlessly replaced is more powerful than any silence or no contact tactic. It hits her deep because it threatens not just her pride, but her place in your world. When a woman pulls back, plays games, or even walks away, part of her still believes she holds emotional real estate in your life. She thinks you'll wait, or at least hesitate, that no one else could compare, that she's unforgettable. But the moment she starts seeing evidence that other women are drawn to you, that other women laugh at your jokes, admire your energy, lean into your presence, everything changes. This doesn't mean you need to flaunt a new relationship. In fact, that usually backfires and looks desperate. But subtle cues are enough. Your life gets fuller. You're out more. You're being tagged in posts. There are glimpses of feminine energy near you, whether it's a story at dinner, a comment under your photo, or even a woman in the background of a group shot. Small things, but they echo loudly in her mind. You're showing her that life didn't pause, that you're still desirable, still magnetic, still valuable to the kind of women she secretly competes with. That's what really gets to her. Not because she's jealous in the superficial sense, but because now she's wondering if you've elevated past her league. If she's been replaced not just by another body, but by someone who sees your worth in a way she didn't. And here's the secret. It's not about trying to make her jealous. It's about becoming a man who naturally attracts admiration. When you start treating yourself like a prize, the world reflects that back to you. Your confidence changes, your body language shifts, your energy becomes more magnetic, and women feel it. Even the one who thought she had you figured out. What makes this hit her harder than silence is that she expected you to be loyal to the pain. She thought you'd wait in limbo, hoping she'd come around. But you didn't. You rose, you moved, you grew into someone that someone else could cherish. And now she's the one left wondering. Because nothing haunts a woman more than the thought of being easily replaced by someone who treats you better and values you more. Let me tell you something that will stop her in her tracks. Not your anger, not your silence, not even your replacement. What really hits her hard is when you detach with grace. Not rage, not games, just calm, effortless peace. That's what shakes her soul. Because most men either lash out, beg for closure, or disappear in resentment. But when you carry yourself with quiet dignity, when you stay composed while she's still trying to figure out your emotional temperature, that's when she starts to feel it. You see, she expected you to break, maybe not right away, but eventually. She thought you'd crumble emotionally, get bitter, or spiral into attention-seeking moves. That's the script most men follow, and deep down it keeps her ego safe. Because even if things ended badly, at least she knows you cared enough to be in pain. But when you show up with kindness, peace, and a complete lack of emotional dependency, now that's what throws her off completely. You're not being rude, you're not acting cold, you're still respectful, you might even respond to her message. But your energy, completely different. No more emotional pull, no subtle undertone of need. You've disconnected from the drama, and you're not trying to teach her a lesson, you're just done. Done with the game, done with seeking validation, done with placing your peace in her hands. And what makes this powerful is that it's real. You've done the work. You've processed the pain. You've stepped back, breathed, and chosen to heal without needing her to see it. So now when she reaches out, you're not ignoring her. You're just not attached. That neutral, steady energy, that's what she didn't expect. And it makes her wonder what changed. She'll replay conversations in her head, question her decision, ask herself why you're so okay now, because in her mind, the version of you she thought she left behind would still be hanging on. But instead, you've elevated into a man who doesn't just walk away, you ascend. And you do it with such peace that it's unsettling. And maybe she'll try to test you. Maybe she'll drop a compliment or a just thinking of you text, but you won't jump. You won't flinch. You'll respond if you choose to, but only from a place of calm power. No guilt, no need to prove anything, just pure, graceful detachment. That's when she realizes she lost a man who didn't need to win her back to prove his worth, a man who values his peace more than her attention. And that truth, that's the one she'll never forget.